views expressed on the following broadcasts do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT, Take 12 Radio, or our affiliates. The opinions on this show should not be considered as medical, psychological, or professional advice and are those of the host, co-host, and guest. Take 12 Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
Here we go.
When the static of life fills your brain,
Ouch.
and the world seems a little too insane, just twist that dial, don't hesitate. There's a haven where good vibes await.
Do what? Do what?
Tune in and Take 12
That's
for
right.
some joy and cheer. It's the sound of hope coming in crystal clear. Recovery talk and music so grand, a beacon of light, a helping hand.
Well, welcome aboard, one and all, to the world's original Recovery Talk and Recovery Music radio station and podcast, and the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show with my co-host, Roger McDermott, from Huntington Beach, California.
Hello, everybody.
And myself, the Monty Man, both of us recovered alcoholics, doing this thing for fun and for free for you because you're that important to us. Are you? Yes, actually you are. So there's the coffee mug. Okay, we're going to answer your email today and do a couple other things. We're going to talk a little bit about the retreat we just returned from in Malibu, California. All right here on the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show.
Coming in crystal clear. Recovery talk and music so grand, a beacon of light, a helping hand.
Kaboom! There's the kaboom. Indeed. So right off the bat, I want to do just a quick review of what we just came back from. Roger, you and I attended, participated, taught, and shared at an incredibly beautiful piece of property called the Sarah Center.
Sarah Retreat Center.
It's Sarah Retreat Center, yeah. Just an incredible place. You got to see something like this to really appreciate it, listeners. So what we did there was we took the message of the 12 steps in a way that was very close, if not the way that Dr. Bob and Clarence Snyder would have presented it at a retreat, and took those who signed up for the retreat. We had like 70. That would include everyone. And took them through the 12 steps in 2 days. Mm-hmm. And once again, it was a remarkable result. Tears and hugs and all that stuff. But more importantly, we were able to send people home with a message worth depth and weight that did change their lives and will hopefully continue to do that. And now they have some things to be equipped to share with others. We divided up into small groups throughout the weekend, working on applying and implementing whatever step was taught right before we broke up into those small groups. You had a group, I had a group, and several other people did. So Roger, when we think of these retreats and when we do these presentations, don't you think that there's like something very powerful that happens in the small groups that just doesn't happen when we're all together in one room?
Yes. Well, clearly, if you've got 3 to 5 or 7 people instead of 50 or 60,
yeah,
you have the opportunity to get personal, and you get to open up and share, and the Holy Spirit comes to those settings and just does kind of miraculous things. It's hard to put into words what takes place at these retreats. Not only is it a beautiful facility, but the people get to come and really share what's on their heart. And as we walk through this journey of the 12 steps, miraculous things happen. People get changed. They get they may get saved. They get clean, if you will, on the inside. And I've done, I don't know, I've probably done close to 30 of these now. And they, every one of them, it's always like I leave Malibu and I go, God, I can't get any better than that. And then I go to the next one and
It's better than that last one.
it's such a blessing. I mean, that's the fourth time I've been to Sarah Retreat Center.
Wow.
And the last three have been absolutely magical.
Yeah. Just powerful stuff. Listeners, if you want to find out more about this and if you want to attend one of these things, visit the website, cametobelieverecovery.org, and you can click on upcoming events. You can also find the Came to Believe Recovery podcast.
We're having another one in December, Monty. Yes.
Yes, indeed.
I invite the listeners to come. Please come.
Yeah. And Malibu, if you've never been to the mountains of Malibu, I got to tell you that the thing that I just sticks out to me that was such a beautiful thing that I witnessed was about 50 parrots, bright green, I mean chartreuse in color, right? And we're above them on a landing that kind of sticks out, and so it reminded me of a video segment out of Jurassic Park. Mm-hmm. Right, where you're looking down and you got 50 of these beautiful parrots flying in unison below you, and it was just incredible. And they're native to the area, I guess, and they're just everywhere.
I don't think they're native. They're
native?
No, they were introduced, and they've just, as you and I found in that area, in that canyon, we love it. So they've just bred, and they're not native to. Yeah. They're I think they're Amazon green parrots that have been introduced.
Just gorgeous.
Yeah, the last time I was there, they actually landed in the trees right there by where you were walking.
Wow.
And they'd squawk, and you can't make this stuff up. It's amazing.
Hey, so I want to give a shout out to, first of all, the 5 guys that were in my group, they were all phenomenal. Very open to the 12 steps, as the other groups were as well. But I made a connection with 2 of the guys, probably a little more than the other ones. I think that's kind of normal. Kevin and James, I'm relatively sure they're listening to this show. And guys, gosh, just great stuff, man. I actually called. I don't have James's phone number. I have Kevin's, and I actually talked to him yesterday, and he was so excited. He sent me a picture. Him and James were at some event, and there was this big wood carving on the wall that says, "Nothing changes if nothing changes," which you and I both we love quoting that statement. So he sent that to me, and he was all excited. He's getting ready to present a first step message of his own to a group of people, I think. And he's a little nervous about public speaking, but that's why I challenged him to do the Came to Believe response on Sunday. And he got up there and he did a great job. Yeah. James, keep rocking it, brother. You guys are a power to reckon with. Both those guys are like buddies, and they met in the program they're in right now. But just good stuff. Really, really good stuff. So we make friends for life, even ones we may not ever see again, but there's still that bond there when you make a connection through this 12-step process. It's just amazing. Okay. So we're going to be looking at some emails and answering some emails and addressing an issue here. But first, we're going to take a short break. I want you to check this out, and we'll be right.
Hey, you!
back.
Yeah, you! Whoever said recovery was boring has never been to Recovery in the Park. Join me for the 12th annual Recovery in the Park, 5 to 8:30 p.m., Tuesday, July 21st at beautiful Bryant Park, Albany, Oregon. live music, community resource fair, a great kids area, and lots of free stuff, including barbecued burgers and dogs. Not that kind of dog. Ooh. Every year, the recovery community of Lynn County and surrounding areas comes together to prove that life is worth the living sober. So don't you miss this year's event, Tuesday, July 21st at beautiful Bryant Park, Albany, Oregon, 5 to 8:30 p.m. for the 12th annual Recovery in the Park.
It's time to open up the Take 12 Recovery Radio Mailbag. We want to read your mail. Should we succeed or fail? Let's open up the cards, letters, and comments from this holy grail.
That's right. It's time to open up the not the Came to Believe. Did that say Came to Believe?
You did.
See, I got all these podcasts. I get them all confused. This is not the Came to Believe one. This is the Take 12 Radio Mailbag. So, well. Listen, by the way, listeners, don't miss the Came to Believe Recovery podcast on Wednesday. I'll tell you what the topic is. It's going to be a doozy. Ooh, broken belief systems.
Ooh.
That'll be myself and the CEO of Came to Believe Recovery, Mr. Tom Williams. All right. So some emails I thought were worth addressing. Here's the first one. Dear, I get
hey,
one.
Wait, newsflash, update. Yeah. Not to be upstaged by Monty and his group, but I got to give a shout out to group number 1 because it was the best group at the Malibu retreat. So Jacob, Jerry, and Michael, you know that you're the best. I haven't talked to you, but I pray you're doing well, and I would love to hear from you. Jacob, Jerry, and Michael from group number 1, Sarah Retreat Center, the best group. That's all. That's all.
James and Kevin Sickham. Oh, dear me. Okay, we do love our groups. All right, so every once in a while I get one of these, and last week was no different. Dear Monty and Company, once again, another well-meaning member of Alcoholics Anonymous breaking our tradition at the level of radio and internet. Your podcast clearly violates our 11th tradition. Have you no shame? Sincerely, Jerry P. He uses his full name, but I'm not going to give it because I don't want to irritate him any more than he already is. Okay. All right. If that's how you interpret the Take 12 Recovery radio show and podcast, I would understand why that would irritate you. But you're misinformed. So let me read. I'll read the short form and then the long form of Tradition 11 of Alcoholics Anonymous. The short form says we need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and film. The long form says our relations with the general public should be characterized by personal anonymity. We think AA ought to avoid sensational advertising. Our names and pictures as AA members ought not be broadcast, filmed, or publicly printed. Our public relations should be guided by the principle of attraction rather than promotion. There is never need to praise ourselves. We feel it better to let our friends recommend us. Okay, that's Tradition 11. So let's unpack that. Our relations with the general public should be characterized by personal anonymity. We think AA ought to avoid sensational advertising. All right, let's see if we can apply that to the Take 12 Recovery Radio shows and the other podcasts that we produce. Do we engage in sensational advertising? No. I don't think so. No. Is Take 12 Recovery Radio an AA broadcast?
No.
It doesn't claim to be. In fact, if you would listen, Jerry,
to the disclaimer
at the beginning of the show, if you would pay attention, it clearly states that we are not affiliated with any particular 12-step program. We're not. Take 12 Recovery Radio has never claimed that it is representing AA, NA, CR, any of the A's. Do we talk about things that go on in AA? Yeah. Do we talk about things that go on in other recovery fellowships that are 12-step? Yeah. That isn't claiming affiliation. That's just observation. Let's go on. Our names and pictures as AA members ought never be broadcast, filmed, or publicly printed. Okay. I will challenge you, and I would challenge anybody to, as the, for lack of a better term, as the face of Take 12 Recovery Radio, in the last 22 years I've been broadcasting, I have never once claimed membership in any particular 12-step fellowship. I've never said I am a member of. I've never done that. I've been very careful not to do that. Have I had guests on that have done that? Yes. But that's because I'm not going to tell them how to share. This isn't an AA station or a podcast, so I'm not going to try and enforce traditions upon them that we're not part of. How can you break a tradition of an organization you're not a member of? It doesn't make any sense. So there's that. Our public relations should be guided by the principle of attraction rather than promotion. There is never any need to praise ourselves. Well, I kind of do like to do that, don't I? We feel it better to let our friends recommend us. Okay, I get that. But here's the deal, Jerry P. Take 12 Radio does not claim any affiliation. So you got to, and here's the other thing. As far as Alcoholics Anonymous goes, from what I understand, and somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, it's our public relations policy is what it states that is based on attraction rather than promotion, not our personal stories. This is about the public relations policy, not the individual stories. And once again, my face does appear here, my name does appear here, but I don't ever claim membership, and neither does Take 12. The registered trademark Take 12 Recovery Radio claims no affiliation. So, you want to add to that, Roger?
Yeah, you said it all. You said it all, and the personal anonymity, not public relations, but the personal anonymity of Monty Meyer or Roger McDermott is we have the ability to choose how we want to share whatever it is in our life. And we're not affiliated as a broadcast as Alcoholics Anonymous. The fact that I can come in and tell you what has happened in my life as a result of what actions I've taken doesn't have anything to do with traditions.
Right.
It's my story and it's my report. And anytime that anybody reports the beautiful results of that fellowship,
Mm-hmm.
that should be an attraction for anybody who's dealing with their struggles. Plain and simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Amen. So I hope that answers your question. Have you no shame? No.
Well, you know what's interesting too is you can go online and get all the AA speakers. You can get Dr. Bob, Bill Wilson. You can get everybody online, and it's all available. It's all public information. So yeah.
Okay. Here's one. Okay. HPD is his handle or her handle. Writes, "Have you ever stopped believing in God?"
Have you? The question: Have you ever
stopped? Well, it's two. They actually gave me two questions. Have you ever stopped believing in God? And the second one is, have you ever got so mad at God you told him to leave you alone? So, how do you want to address that?
I'll say this: I've always believed in God. However, my addiction, my disease, and my character defects got into a non-functioning relationship with God, which when I got clean and sober, it improved greatly. Have I ever gotten mad at God? I mean, I think about this a lot. And I went back, and I really do, over the years, and I do a lot of review in the rearview mirror over my almost 30 years of being recovered. And I can't even, I remember my first week when I was in an alternative sentencing program. I remember there was nothing I could blame God for. I was accountable and responsible for everything that I had done in my life, and there was nobody to blame but Roger. So when I got rigorously honest with myself, God never made me do any of the dastardly stuff that I did under the influence or in my disease, or even before that. He creates us with free will, and we have the choice to do the wrong thing or the right thing. And I live by that Hawaiian concept that I heard, Kine Ole, which says do the right thing at the right time for the right reason in the right place to the right person the first time. And in that equation, God does what God does. But I no. So the answer is no. That was a long answer to two questions, but I've always believed in God, and no, I've never gotten so mad at him that whatever. No, I haven't. I've been disappointed, but it was because I had set expectations for something to happen that didn't. And in my immaturity, I wanted to blame God. But the bottom line was, God didn't do it. Didn't do it.
Yeah, so I'll answer that. Have you ever stopped believing in God? I'm with you. I always believed in God, even though I may not have had a personal relationship with him. But if there was a time I didn't believe in God, I can't recall it. I'm sure there was a time in my real young youth that it wasn't something I thought about. But I think from the first time that I ever considered that there was a creator, I've never stopped believing that. Of course, that relationship became very specific, God specific, that my faith in Jesus Christ, God in the flesh,
Right.
grew in my relationship with God. But I'm with you. I've always believed, and it wasn't a church thing or influence from other people so much as it was just an awareness, just an awareness. Have I ever gotten so mad at God that I told him to leave me alone? I've gotten pretty mad at God, but I never told him to go away. I identify with the psalmist David because, King David, because he's such a whiner, and I really identify with that. Because you read his Psalms, he's like, God, well, you make all these promises, and now you left me, and I'm all by myself. I'm in a wretched state. Oh my gosh, how could you do this? And then he takes a breath, and at the end of all those Psalms where he's complaining, he goes, but I know that you love me, and I know I'm gonna be okay. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like he's got a vent, But then he reels it back in, and I can just see our Heavenly Father going, David, you silly man. So, yeah, I think I got really mad at God. The time I really got mad at him is one of our kids, I can't even remember which one it was so sick, just so sick. And I went into Papa mode, you know what I mean? I went into protective mode, And God, you say that, children mean so much to you and don't harm the little children and you're allowing this and blah, 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 blah. But after my rant, I was just like David. But I know you got my son. I know you got him. No matter what happens, he's yours. It's okay. Yeah. Have I ever told God to go away? No. So I listened to, I don't know if I told you this or not. You remember Baker, Tammy Baker. What was her husband's name?
Tammy Baker?
Tammy Baker's husband.
Jim Baker.
Jim Baker. So I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the pastor was talking about how he went in to interview Jim Baker. He went into prison to interview him. And what he found was a man who was broken and humble and growing in his relationship with Christ like never before. And he talked to him, and he said, you know, how are you taking this punishment? Because it's pretty brutal. And he said, this wasn't a punishment. This was God's grace. This was his mercy.
Exactly.
You know? And then he said, the pastor asked him, Jim, what happened? When did you fall out of love with Jesus? And he said, I didn't. He goes, you didn't? You had multiple affairs. You stole money. You lied to the public. And he just listed all these things. And you're sitting there telling me that you never fell out of love with Jesus? He goes, nope. What I didn't do is I didn't fear him.
Ooh.
Ooh, boy.
Oh.
That has been in my head all week. We got a lot of believers, including me, that have been running around in love with Jesus, but no fear of God. And I'm telling you, listeners, and people say, well, you know, are we supposed to be afraid of him? And I'm like, do a study on the fear of God. That's all I'll say about that. But I was just like, here's Jim Baker in the middle of you know, the consequences of his actions, considering it the mercy of God, not the punishment of God, stating, I've always loved Jesus, but I didn't fear him, and now I do. Yeah, you know, that's just anyway.
So, yeah, the fear, that's an awe, an AWE respect for the righteousness of God. I'm doing through the Bible in a year, and I'm I'm in the Old Testament, and oh my gosh, I'm reading in Kings and Chronicles and Numbers, and how God he is righteous, and when there's disobedience, there's judgment. And I'm reading it, and I'm like, wow, I need to be more aware of that in my life, because we all talk about grace and mercy, but we don't talk about final judgment and so forth. And yes, we're saved, but we're still accountable for what we do on earth. And it really gave me what you just said about Jim Baker. That's powerful. But I don't know that I don't know if I've ever heard that answer to that question like that.
Yeah, me either.
I mean, that says it all. I saw him interviewed years ago when he went to prison, or after he got out of prison. And I had such great respect for him as what he had gone through and what he learned.
Mm-hmm.
He was fully accountable and fully responsible about all the dastardly things he did. But as did David, Jesus said he was a man, God said he was a man after my own heart.
Yeah.
Even though he was an adulterer and a murderer and on and on.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Okay. Here's our next email. About all that is their handle. And they write, have you ever had authors with opposing views on your show? Yes. And so I thought it'd be interesting to go over a couple of these. Let me get my info here. The first one, the first person that I ever had on my show with an opposing view was a gal by the name of Melody Solomon. Melody Solomon wrote a book called AA, Not the Only Way. Now, just give you a little background on her. Melanie Solomon is a former addict and psychologist with a BA in psychology from the University of Michigan. Her recovery story and professional background lend credibility to her advocacy for diverse treatment approaches. AA Not the Only Way, your one-stop resource guide to 12-step alternatives by Melody Solomon, is a recovery resource book that challenges the idea that Alcoholics Anonymous and other 12-step programs are the only viable path to recovery or sobriety. Written by Solomon, who battled addiction for 12 years before finding a lasting recovery, the book presents her personal journey and the reasons she sought alternatives after struggling in AA. The core message of the book, the title itself, is a statement. AA is not the only way to recover from alcohol or drug addiction. Solomon acknowledges that 12-step programs can be effective for many people, but she argues that not everyone responds to them and that other approaches can be equally or more effective for some. And the list goes on. I had Melanie on. It was challenging for me because I wasn't sure. She had requested to come on, and I thought, okay, here we go. I never had somebody with an opposing viewpoint come on before. So she sent me the book. I read the book, and what I got to tell you is the book spends the majority of its time bashing AA. It does give a long list of alternatives. That is true, but she's pretty brutal. And some of her references and the things that she quotes are not accurate. In other areas, she's done her homework. And in other areas, she's right. Because Alcoholics Anonymous hasn't always done a real good job of representing Alcoholics Anonymous. In my humble, or not so humble, no, my not so humble but never apologetic opinion. So yeah, I had her on. In fact, I've had her on twice. It's been a long time since I've had her on. So that was one person. I've had others too, but the two people that I've tried to get on the show that will not respond to me. The first one is a gentleman by the name of Jack Trimpey. He is the founder of Rational Recovery. I have tried to contact him over and over again, and he does not respond. So I stopped doing it. I stopped trying to get him. Let me tell you about Rational Recovery. Have you ever heard of Rational Recovery, Roger?
No.
So Rational Recovery is a self-help addiction recovery program that emphasizes personal responsibility, rational thinking, and permanent abstinence without reliance on a higher power. Okay. Let me unpack that for a minute. Self-help addiction recovery program that emphasizes personal responsibility. AA emphasizes personal responsibility. Rational thinking, AA does that. Permanent abstinence, AA does that. Without a reliance on a higher power, some AA meetings do that. Is that representing true AA? No. But there are AA meetings that call themselves AA meetings that are kind of close to this Rational Recovery thing. Let me go on. Rational Recovery was founded in 1986 by Jack Trimpey, a recovered alcoholic and licensed clinical social worker, as a secular alternative to Alcoholics Anonymous and other 12-step programs. Unlike AA, RR does not view addiction as a disease or require belief in a higher power. Instead, it frames addiction as a voluntary behavior that can be overcome through conscious decision-making and self-reliance. Interesting, right? I think that might work if you're not truly powerless. If you're just a knucklehead and you've got a DUI, or you've lost your job because you drank a little too much at the office parties, but that doesn't make you an alcoholic. If you're able to quit on self-reliance, awesome. That's great. And I think there are people that are able to, but I don't think they're alcoholics. Again, my not so humble opinion. What do you think, Raj?
Oh, I agree. So my personal story is in December of 1996, a KDAC counselor came into where I was, my alternative sentencing program, and he diagrammed the chemical reaction in an alcoholic brain when someone drinks alcohol. And I'll never forget it. He passed out paperwork that actually diagrammed the chemical reaction, which is a proven fact. And it creates a chemical called acetaldehyde.
In
And
anybody, right?
What's that?
In anybody that
Right.
puts it in their body. Yeah.
If they have an alcoholic brain, if they
Right.
have the disease of alcoholism. And I said, you're kidding. I never knew that. So they've proven that there's this chemical reaction that does not take place in the brain of a person, quote unquote, that is not subject to alcoholism or the disease of alcohol. So that's a proven fact. So when I was told that, it was just like saying you have cancer, or, you're going to die from coronary, whatever. The bottom line was I had a disease, and I said to myself at that moment, without ever doing step one or even reading the book or having a sponsor, I said, I'm not going to drink or use anymore. I made that conscious decision. And the second thing that happened was I had a moment of clarity, just me and the man in the mirror, and I was looking for somebody to blame for my consequences. And I couldn't find anybody, including God, to blame for what had taken place in my life. Those two things. And then, of course, the program that I was in said, get a sponsor, do the 12 steps, and your life will change. So I made two conscious decisions. I got then I went and got a sponsor. Then I started on the journey, and I'd never relapsed, and I'd never left, and I never got mad at God, because I was the problem, and I had a brain that could not process alcohol. And given those facts, not opinions, facts, I changed. I made a conscious decision to change.
Addictive voice recognition techniques, or AVERT, is the cornerstone of rational recovery, which helps individuals identify the addictive voice, the internal dialogue that urges substance use. By recognizing, labeling, and rejecting this voice, participants learn to separate their rational mind from their addictive impulses. That doesn't sound inaccurate. That sounds pretty good. And then it says this. Jack Trimpey says, participants begin by making a firm commitment, like you did, to abstain from addictive substances or behaviors. They then use AVERT to identify and resist the addictive voice, reinforcing their rational decision to remain abstinent. Over time, this approach helps individuals separate their rational self from their compulsive urges driven by addiction, reducing anxiety, restlessness, and cravings. It doesn't sound that different than you making a decision. Oh, wait a minute, I didn't know this is what this was doing to my brain. Okay, I'm done. And now I'm going to plug into a method that is going to help me grow and mature in that commitment and stay stopped. That doesn't sound that different to me. So if that's working for you, far out. Who am I to argue with that? Okay, the next person that I have invited on the show several times and never heard back was Dr. Joe Gerstein. He is the creator of Smart Recovery. Ever heard of Smart Recovery? Smart Recovery, which stands for Self-Management and Recovery Training, is an international, secular, and science-based program designed to help people recover from addictions and problematic behaviors such as alcohol, drugs, gambling, overeating, and internet use. Unlike traditional 12-step programs, Smart Recovery emphasizes self-empowerment, personal responsibility, and practical strategies, rather than framing addiction as a lifelong disease. Okay, this is what I don't get. Self-empowerment. Okay, we make a declaration, right, that we no longer are powerless because God has removed the obsession. For those of us who have done the work, He's removed the obsession. We now have access to a power, so we're no longer powerless. personal responsibility. We take personal responsibility for our actions and practical strategies. And we find practical strategies within the steps 10, 11, and 12, rather than framing addiction as a lifelong disease. No, we say the problem's been removed. So see, I don't see the difference here. It's just worded a little differently, don't you think?
It is, but it doesn't deal with God. It's all self-empowered.
It's all self-powered, even before. It's like, okay, you've got it within yourself to do this.
And it also doesn't talk about helping others, which is the key ingredient. Once we have been recovered, the idea is to help others. Dr. Bob said it, I think, well, clean house, trust God, help others. That motto resonates with me. And when I do it, I am happy, joyous, and free.
Smart Recovery uses a combination of cognitive behavioral therapy, motivational enhancement therapy, and rational emotive behavior therapy. It has 4 points of framework: building and managing motivation, coping with urges, managing thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and living a balanced life. Again, there's nothing here about developing a relationship with a power greater than you. So yeah, that would be the biggest difference. And there's, again, unless there's something deeper on this about turning this to help other people, I'm not seeing that. But again, an invitation to Dr. Joe Gerstein to come on the show and let's have a chat. Jack Trimpey too. So Smart Recovery, I was reading up on it. It says that it didn't used to support harm reduction, but now it does. You know what harm reduction is, Roger? You heard of that term?
I'm not familiar with the term in the context that you're using it. I understand what harm reduction means, but I'm not in the context of what you're saying.
Okay, so everybody wants to reduce harm.
Right.
It sounds really good. Harm reduction is a public health and social justice approach aimed at minimizing the negative consequences of risky behaviors, particularly substance use, without requiring abstinence. Interesting. Harm reduction focuses on reducing the health, social, and legal harms associated with behaviors like drug use, rather than insisting on complete abstinence. It recognizes that risky behaviors are part of society and that people may not be ready to or able to stop immediately. Oh, well, risky behaviors are just part of our world. That's just the way it is. And, if you can't pull the needle out and you're beating your wife every night when you go home because you drink too much, we understand you may not be able to stop right away. So we're going to let your child remain in your home and be abused because we understand that you just can't stop right away. You got to be kidding me.
Crazy.
The goals and objectives of harm reduction: saving lives and protecting health. It doesn't sound like that to me. Reducing stigma associated with substance use to encourage engagement with services. I'm all for that. Preventing transmission of infections such as HIV, hepatitis, and other bloodborne or sexually transmitted diseases. The way they prevent that is by needle exchange. And there are literally shooting galleries in certain cities, shooting galleries where people are provided with heroin and clean needles, and then they have a treatment center upstairs in case they want help. It encourages safe practices such as using clean needles. Oh, okay, wait a minute. So if you use a clean needle, then it's safe to use heroin, meth, or cocaine, right? It's safe now? It encourages practicing safer sex. Not or using medications for opiate use disorder. In other words, getting you on Suboxone and not teaching you how to wean off of it. And now you're addicted to Suboxone and you got to come up with the money to pay for that, but you don't have it and your insurance won't pay for it. So now you're back to heroin, which is much easier to get than Suboxone, by the way. Connecting people to health and social services, including addiction treatment, counseling, and support groups.
That's insanity.
The approach emphasizes meeting individuals where they are, providing support in a non-judgmental, non-coercive manner, and respecting their dignity and human rights. Wow.
So, using mind-altering substances changes our perception of reality. Therefore, we can't do all the things that program said we're supposed to do unless we're abstinent.
I
That is insanity.
Yeah. Harm reduction, not to be confused with medically assisted treatment, by the way, Matt. Sometimes people need medically assisted treatment. That's one of the reasons why you take the guy that's the active alcoholic and you know, back in the old days, they used to keep some bathtub gin in their glove box, Bill and Bob and the boys, and they'd grab somebody off the bar stool or out of Skid Row, and on the way to the hospital, they'd make sure some gin got down his gullet, because if he didn't get it, he could die.
Right.
That's a form of medically assisted treatment, really. It's
Right.
kind of the crude form of it, but, you know, sometimes we need that, and there's a big difference between that and harm reduction, in my view. Okay, here's the last one. I love this. Stands for something, the number 4, writes this. I have heard rumors that Bill Wilson, who is the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, cheated on Lois, that's his wife, and had an affair with his secretary. Is that true? Here is a letter I came across while looking into this. Please read and comment. Here's the letter. My husband has been attending AA. He has been sober almost 10 months and has been working the 12 steps. However, I learned that Bill W., the founder of AA, was a major cheater with numerous infidelities his entire life. He never stopped cheating and caused his wife great pain. He never apologized to his wife or even addresses the pain of infidelity he caused. Even worse, in his books, he makes excuses and discourages his followers from coming clean to their wives about cheating. What a hypocrite. Now, every time my husband goes to an AA meeting or speaks about the greatness of AA, all I can think about is what a horrible person Bill W. is for what he did to his wife. How am I supposed to reconcile this? Glad my husband is sober, but I have a problem with my husband speaking the virtues of an unapologetic serial philanderer. It's totally unfair that AA itself is a huge trigger for me now, knowing this information about the founder. Wow. Okay, so first of all, let me just say this. Let's assume that everything she said was true. I would recommend the author of this letter look into the apostles, the 12 apostles. Pick your hero. Maybe you're not a believer in God. Maybe you're an agnostic or whatever. Pick one of your heroes in life. Do a deep dive on them. No one escapes the infidelity of self. No one escapes sin, the sin nature. No one does. Some people's behavior screams louder than others, but it's all destructive and it all leaves a bad taste in other people's mouths. I get that. But you might, you know, I would ask, if I'd gotten this letter myself from this person, I would ask, first of all, where did you get your information? Because the author of this letter is really, really mistaken, big time. And so she said, was a major cheater with numerous infidelities his entire life. Okay, so when did he start having immoral sex? When he was 9? You said entire life. Was he 15? Was he 24? What do you mean by that? The entire life. He never stopped cheating and caused his wife great pain. He never apologized to his wife. Okay, let's say this is true. How do you know he didn't apologize? How do you know he didn't make amends? Who told you that? And it goes on. Now, here's the thing. So I had the pleasure and honor of interviewing the screenwriter to the movie My Name is Bill W. His name was William Borchert. In fact, I had him on the show a number of times. He also wrote. He was the screenwriter also for the television movie When Love Is Not Enough, the Lois Wilson story. Bill and his wife were close friends with Bill and Lois. And I asked Bill this question on one of the interviews. Did Bill Wilson ever cheat on his wife with his secretary? And I mean, before I could get the sentence out of my mouth, William said, absolutely not. And I'll tell you how I know that. Him and his wife were very, very close to these folks. And though Bill admitted to having temptations, the one thing he never did was step out on Lois. Never did. But boy, did he get accused of it. Well, of course he got accused of it. He was a raging drunk. People, if you're walking around society drunk off your rear end, walking down the street and got a brown bag and all the stuff that Bill did, you know, people are going to make stuff up. People are going to accuse you of stuff. I mean, there's all sorts of things that people are going to say. But there is no adequate documentation that would state that this is what Bill did.
And Lois never said anything to that effect either.
Never did.
Nor did Ann Smith and Dr. Bob.
Nope. So even if it was true, that's irrelevant. What are some of the things Bill did do? Well, he got drunk a lot. He lied a lot. He, took money out of Lois's purse. He abandoned her on several occasions. I mean, he did a lot of things. But in God's eyes, sin is sin. So, I mean, besides, whoever wrote this letter, and to the person that asked the question about this, stands for something. Let me just say, you can take any organization, I don't care what it is, and you can find somebody in that organization that does not represent that organization well. If you were to pull back the covers and look into their personal life. That's just the way it is, because people are people. People are people. This is what they do. We are a bit of a mess. That's why we need God in our lives, right? But if you're, somebody said this the other day. We were talking about Michael Jackson. And we were talking about, people were saying, well, I just stopped listening to his music after I saw the documentary on, his pedophilia behavior and all this kind of stuff. And this other guy said, and I loved it, he goes, so if you found out that the Wright brothers were rapists, would you cancel all your flights?
Yeah. The fact that Michael Jackson made mistakes does not take away from the incredible artistry and talent that he had. And likewise, anybody that you pick.
And still people haven't reconciled whether these things were true or not true. So let's just assume they were true. So?
Yeah, I'm guilty too. What's your point?
What's your point?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's shift gears. Before we do, though, if you'd love to send us an email, or like to send us an email, rather,
please do.
Yeah, Take 12 Radio. It should be coming up on the screen about now. Take 12 Radio at Comcast.net. Please like, share, and subscribe to our show. When you do that, it helps our analytics. It helps draw people into our YouTube channel. We thank you for those of you who have already done that. Every time you watch a show or listen to a show, please comment or give us a thumbs up. That'd be very helpful. All right. I am going to do this. I was going to put this under a whine, but this really isn't even tongue-in-cheek. This is just disturbing to me. Okay, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm speaking from a person who is a follower of Christ now. And being a follower of Christ, I am a member of what is referred to as the body of Christ, right? The fellowship of the believers, the church, the ecclesia. the body of people called out for a specific purpose. That's what that means in Greek. Okay, so that is a huge body of people. We have a responsibility, even though we fall short, we have a responsibility to do our absolute best to represent Christ the best way we can. And if we are promoting something as foolish as drinking ethanol, alcohol, right? I think as believers, we ought to take a second look at that. The Bible is very clear about not behaving in a way that could cause your younger brother to stumble. What that means is there may be something that you're permitted to do biblically, but may not be wise to do because somebody else could fall. So we don't do it. If it's so important to us that we must do it, we may want to check ourselves on that. So whenever I see people, particularly people in leadership within the ecclesia, within the body of Christ, promoting the use of alcohol, it disturbs me, Roger, because you don't know who you're talking to that may release the phenomenon of craving and become an active alcoholic. Because we know 1 in 5 people are prone to alcoholism before they ever put it in their body. So knowing that, why would you give somebody alcohol, right? That, especially if you don't even know them. What am I talking about? Well, are you familiar with Dave Ramsey? You know who that is?
Yeah, I do.
Dave Ramsey, the financial guru. So I'm watching the Dave Ramsey show on TV last night. Dave was not there, but his 3 main representatives, Rachel Cruz, which is his daughter, George Camel, and Ken Coleman, they're doing questions and answers. They're on tour right now, and they're doing these questions and answers. And this one lady said something, and Ken Coleman really likes what she said. She goes, "Oh, you deserve this." And he reaches behind the chair, and he grabs this rather large bottle of champagne. And she said, "Here you go. Here's a prize for you." And he gives her this bottle of champagne, and he says, "It's champagne." And he gives it to her. And I'm like, what? And so I'm listening more and watching more. And somebody else is sharing. And they're talking about a disagreement they're having financially with their spouse. And he reaches behind the chair and he grabs a large bottle of wine. And he says, "I think you guys ought to pop this open." I'm stunned. And then, to top it all up, George Camel and Rachel Cruz promoted their Smart Money Happy Hour.
Smart Money Happy Hour?
Happy Hour, right? So I went and looked up the Smart Money Happy Hour, and here they sit with, it looks like a screwdriver. It wasn't, but bear with me. And he says at the beginning of the show, "I'll bet you all are wondering what's in this drink." He says, "It's none of your business." Kind of tongue in cheek, ha ha, he. Because you'll have to wait till the end of the show to find out. I'm like, what? So I watched it. I watched the end of the show. And then they go, "Now the question you've all been waiting for us to answer, what's in the drink?" Sparkling wine, orange juice, and liqueur. And they're celebrating drinking alcohol. They're promoting it in a kind of a subtle way. They're not saying, "Hey, everybody, drink this." But then on the other show, they're giving it away to people as a prize. Roger, I'm stunned. I lost all respect for Dave Ramsey. Because Marcia goes, well, it's not Dave Ramsey. I go, it's his show. It's his daughter. He knows what goes on in his show. He's a very smart man. There's no way he's allowing this without his knowledge. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I have lost all respect for him, and So some people say, well, aren't you being a little too critical? There are people that can drink. Yeah, there are.
Well, get Dave Ramsey on the show.
Man, I'm telling you, Marcia goes, you going to write him? I go, I'm really thinking about it. I got to calm down, though, before I write him. Because right now, I would be less than Christ-like. I don't even know if he'd get the letter. But come on, Dave. Really? You're boasting of people being responsible with their money, and now you're giving alcohol away to people in your audience? I don't know, brother. What do you think? What's your take? Am I making too much to do about nothing?
I don't know. It's promoting happy hour financial get-togethers. To me, I mean, I can only put it in perspective for me. I don't want to be drinking with someone who's going to tell me how to manage my financial portfolio while we're drinking. I can't imagine going into a business facility where I'm meeting with a financial planner and he pops out a bottle of champagne, or would you like some orange juice with sparkling wine and liqueur? That is, it's a place of business, number one. Two, you're going to tell me how to invest my money and put it in places that will give me a great return on investment. Just on the practical side of things, it doesn't make sense. On the spiritual side of things, like for you and me, promoting use of alcohol publicly in that framework doesn't make sense to me either. But I mean, I have to process this because I would love to hear Dave Ramsey's response to it, because I have great respect for the man in terms of his financial acumen and his financial, business. But it doesn't make sense to me. So a bottle of champagne behind one guy's chair, a bottle of wine behind the other guy's chair, and then a promotion about orange juice, sparkling wine, and liqueur. It sounds like a liquor advertisement.
I know.
Right? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me when you're talking about financial planning.
Well, and then when he said to the couple, it sounds like you guys need to pop open this and discuss it. What is that saying? Drink this. It may help you relax and affect you, and so then you can work this out. It's not going to give you better financial clarity to make better financial decisions under the influence of anything. That's the bottom line. I'll make stupid decisions under the influence, but I get it. I'm an alcoholic, recovered, but it doesn't make sense to me. What business do you walk into where that transpires? Right. None, except a bar. So let me move away from that for a minute. I just reflected on some of my favorite cop shows, and it's like in almost every one of them, somebody at the precincts got a bottle of whiskey in their drawer, and every time something gets too tough, you see them kind of look around, they pull out a glass, they pour themselves a shot of whiskey, and then they go to the next scene. It's like even in one of my favorite cop shows, Blue Bloods, right? Whiskey is rampant. It's not really whiskey. I saw an interview, or Marshall saw an interview where they're talking about it. It's actually iced tea, because they're not serving alcohol on the set, but it's supposed to be bourbon or whiskey or whatever, and so it's such a common thing in TV shows and that kind of thing. As we were watching a show the other day, and the wife pulls out a bottle of wine, and she's like, "Oh, I need this now." It is offered up as the great elixir. Alcohol, is going to solve all your problems, going to relax you. In fact, Last Man Standing, I was watching it last night. and they're making fun of each other. They go to a Halloween thing and they're making fun of each other. And Kyle plays the mom. He's dressed up like the mom, and he goes, "Where's my wine? I need my wine," which is something she says all the time because she has all these kids and she's dealing with him and she's stressed out. So she's always wanting a glass of wine. I mean, it is like the solution to everything, media-wise. We don't need help from the Christian community. Okay, I'm done.
I can only know in my life, I never made better decisions under the influence. Never.
Yeah, I never. No, me either. Jerry Samuels, better known as Napoleon the 14th. Does that sound familiar at all?
No.
He is the gentleman who did "They're Coming to Take Me Away." He.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we did a little sound clip at the beginning of the show. Some people are probably thinking right now somebody needs to come and take Monty away. I get it. Email me at take12radio at Comcast.
Please.
I forgot to close out the mailbag, and then we'll close out with the whole song. "They're Coming to Take Me Away." So let's close this mailbag out. 1, 2, 3.
We want to read your mail. Should we succeed or fail?
All right, here is Jerry Samuels, better known as Napoleon 14th.
Remember when you ran away and I got on my knees and begged you not to leave because I'd go berserk? Well, you left me anyhow, and then the days got worse and worse, and now you see I've gone completely out of my mind. And they're coming to take me away, ha-ha, they're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny farm where life is beautiful all the time, and I'll be happy to see those nice young men in their clean white coats, and they're coming to take me away, ha-ha! You thought it was a joke, and so you laughed. You laughed when I had said that losing you would make me flip my lid. Right? You know you laughed. I heard you laugh. You laughed and laughed, and then you left. But now you know I'm utterly mad. And they're coming to take me away, ha-ha. They're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha. To the happy home with trees and flowers and chirping birds and basket weavers who sit and smile and twiddle their thumbs and toes, and they're coming to take me away, ha-ha. I cooked your food, I cleaned your house, and this is how you pay me back for all my kind, unselfish, loving deeds. Huh? Well, you just wait, they'll find you yet, and when they do, they'll put you in the ASPCA, you mangy mutt. And they're coming to take me away, ha-ha, they're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny farm where life is beautiful all the time, and I'll be happy to see those nice young men in their clean white coats, and they're coming to take me away, ha-ha, to the happy home with trees and flowers and chirping birds and basket weavers who sit and smile and twiddle their thumbs and toes, and they're coming to take me away, ha-ha, to the funny farm where life is beautiful all the time.
All right, Jerry Samuels, Napoleon the 14th. It's probably highly offensive to some people. But you know what? So is this show.
That's right.
All right, my friends. God bless you. Again, if you've got an email you'd like to send or you want to comment, please do that. Take12radio@comcast.net. Until our next broadcast, this is the Montyman along with Roger McDermott and the rest of the Take 12 Recovery Radio family. And we are wishing God's perfect serenity for each and every one of you.
Don't let the weights of the past keep you down. There's a melody here to turn it around. In each story and song you'll find a friend, a chorus of courage that'll never end.
This has been a broadcast of Take 12 Recovery Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Kitty, kitty. They're coming to take me away, haha.
This has been a Chicken and a Pig production.